Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to it's working. Hey, I don't have to stand by the podium. Welcome to the UUFLB, the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Laguna Beach. I am Don West Jr. I will be your worship associate and worship leader this morning. It's a very, very special morning. We have one of our members visiting with us from the Sacramento area. Carole Warman, her smiling face is looking at me up on the stage. Welcome back to Orange County. Welcome to everybody joining us by Zoom. Welcome to everybody that might join us in the future watching this video. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. We're going to light the chalice this morning, and I'm a little bit flustered and a little bit excited because I'm actually here in person. For those who don't know, everyone in the room knows I reside in Henderson, Nevada, and I drove over last evening after a whirlwind week, which I must categorize as the most impactful and eventful week of my professional career happened last week. It was just a most dynamic week. If you recall, last Sunday, I joined you for part of the service from the football game in Las Vegas. That was my first football game with my boss and partner, Jamie Fritz. He asked me to come to the game at a last minute in terms of my calendar. So I did that on Sunday. I signed my first client, Marvin Jones. He was a linebacker with the New York Jets. And he got inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame at the Bellagio on Tuesday night in Las Vegas. So it's been a very, very eventful week. And one of the reasons that I am dressed the way that I am today is not only in celebration of my time with you here, looking to seek to fit the part and look the part of a leader, but it's also a morning suit. My second cousin, Carrie Connor Machette, who was a CPA, she was 48 years old, succumbed to breast cancer earlier this week. So in the midst of the best week of my life, I lost one of my favorite cousins, one of the most impactful people in our family. She was challenging it for almost 15 years, and she did it with such grace and poise, starting a foundation with her mother, who's also a breast cancer survivor, also a CPA. Her name's Anita Connors. In the Philadelphia area, they're known as the Tax Divas, Tax Diva 1 and Tax Diva 2. And now Tax Diva 2 is my angel in heaven. And so we're gonna light the chalice this morning and have a moment of silence for Carrie Machette Connor, who's no longer with us. There's so much joy in this moment, because I just shared with you what I've been doing professionally in my Monday through Friday life. And in this moment, I'm here with you, awaiting my letter from Star King that says that I'm officially on the path to becoming the Reverend Don West Jr. So I'm living the wildest dream of my ancestors. My uncle made an interesting observation after our last service together. He joined us, and he said that there's been 6 people called to the ministry from my genetic history, my family. And his observation that all of those people were called from congregations of people that look like me to serve people that look like me. And he said there's something really different happening in that this congregation looks a little bit different than me, yet they've given me the energy to move forward and to seek to become a leader. So that's a different energy. And so we're living the change here. And we're going to do our centering thought. Our centering thought comes from the Mahatma. It's going to come up on our screen. I invite you to read it aloud. If you feel like doing so, you can unmute yourself on Zoom. Okay, here we go. Be the change to see.
You wish to see in the world.
That's from the Mahatma, Gandhi. Our opening hymn is one of my favorite songs that I've ever heard in this building. And it's going to be sung for you this morning by one of my favorite musicians ever to play in this building, the lovely Carole. Carole.
And Blue Boat Home, our favorite. Do you all want to stand, or do you want to just, if you want to stand, please stand. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor, no port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting near my ship's companion, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way to the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great wind surging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbored, no port have I known. One universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Yes. Okay.
Very much, Carole. So now we are going to state our unison affirmation. If it feels comfortable for you, I invite you to say these words with us. The words are going to be on.
I will. I already did some.
Let's read it together. Love
Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law.
our great covenant.
The great covenant
Well,
to dwell together in peace,
To seek
seek the truth in love,
help.
and to help one another.
Now we've come to a time in our service where we're going to pause the recording and share our joys and sorrows. If you're in the building, I invite you to light a candle for a silent joy or sorrow if you feel so moved. And we're going to start with the people on Zoom. Hey, Doc, I see you. I thought I wasn't going to see you today. Hi, Annie. Anybody on Zoom have anything to share with us today? Recording. And at some places, this is the only thing that they care about because it's time to get them up. And so it is time for our offering, and there's going to be, wow, the rain is really coming down out there. So cool. We need rain in California. So even though it's gonna mess up my suit, I'm happy to see the rain. We're going to pass the basket around. There's going to be a slide up on the screen that if you're watching this on Zoom later on YouTube or on Facebook, that tells you different ways that you can give. There's a QR code if you're cool and hip and young and want to scan something before you scan something. We have that for you. And Carol's going to play a little music for us, and we're going to pass the basket around because it's through our time, talent, and treasure that we make this whole ship called the UUFLB. So, thank Going once, going twice. All right, we're going to rise if you're comfortable, and we're going to sing From You I Receive, to You I Give, Together We Share, and From This We Live. Hold hands if you feel comfortable.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Now we're going to do a short reading. The reading comes from the great hymnal. It's passage number 707, and it actually comes to us from the book of Deuteronomy. So we're going to bring that up on the screen, and it's short and sweet, so I thought we would read it together. So I invite you to read this with me. It is written in the Torah, I call heaven and earth to witness today that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life so that you and your descendants may live. And that's from Deuteronomy 30. And as we move forward, I want you to let that thought be kind of an overarching instruction to what time we have left together. What are choices that we're going to make? What are we doing for ourselves, and what are we doing for our descendants so that they can live? I invite you to get into a comfortable place. Get your feet flat on the floor. Start to take a few deep breaths. And let's just clear our mind and get ready to come together in this space. And let's think of all those that have come before us. Think of ourselves as a link in the chain. and all those that are going to come after us. And let's just put a positive intention into that chain of life. Love, L.O.V.E. We are what we do, exploring the proposed eighth principle, is the title that I came up with for our time together today. And there's a saying that goes, wherever you go, there you are. And that was said to me about 23 years ago by an ex-romantic interest of mine, her effort of trying to help me understand myself a little better. And it was right before I made my journey here to Newport Beach to become a sports attorney at the law firm of Steinberg, Morad and Dunn, which became a sports management firm. But wherever you go, there you are. Whatever you do ultimately becomes the record of your life, and it's what people are going to know you for. So a few weeks ago, Oakley, our board president, thank you for serving, Mr. Oakley, and the doctor who's with us on Zoom, they led us in a conversation about the eighth principle, which currently the National Unitarian Universalist Association is contemplating and considering, I believe, for adoption next year. So as a fellowship, as a community, we started a discussion on that eighth principle. And I'm going to ask Pam just to bring it up so that we can read through it to remind ourselves of what the proposed language is. And boy, get ready everybody, because it's a lot of language. So we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. But wait, there's more. Journeying toward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. So we started a conversation about what that was, what that meant, and I believe we had a couple of discussion questions which are on the next slide. So let's just run through those discussion questions that Oakley and the doctor took us through. So what does it mean to be accountable? Are we accountable here at the UUFLB? What is essential to you about being a Unitarian Universalist? Why is it important to decenter whiteness and other dominant cultures in UUism? And I think there might be one more slide of questions. Do you think a new principle will cause UUs to renew their commitment? And the last was Some say the 8th principle would be jarring, something like adding an 11th commandment. And what is your opinion? So we spent some time going through all that, and I'm inviting us again, having had time to reflect, to do it again with a little bit more context. And I guess wherever you go, there you are. And then there's a thing that says, what is it? The things that you do every day, something, something, something becomes your reputation, becomes your legacy, right? So what we do every week here, each week is a block that gets built into the legacy of what the UUFLB is. So just reading those words and standing here in front of you and just using my eyes and looking at what's going on, I think we're actually doing a halfway decent job of living the proposed 8th principle. There's empowerment, there's something called diversity happening. And the questions that I have is, how do we take that further? So if you guys participated in the movie series that we did back in the summer of 2020, we did Walking While Black was one of the movies that we did, and we had AJ Ali come in, and he did a producer-directorial roundtable with us after we watched the movie, and then he did a service for us that Sunday, so we got a lot of time with AJ. And I don't know if any of you guys know this, but AJ was living in Santa Monica at that time in 2020, but he's relocated to Henderson, Nevada. Oh. Right? And since he's in Henderson, Nevada, from time to time, I allow him the pleasure of buying me a cocktail and some food. And I'll visit with him out at the golf course as he comes in and tells me all kinds of falsehoods about how he killed it on the back nine. But in that, what you do, it becomes who you are. And one of the things that, since I got introduced to AJ and the Love is the Answer movement, I've become more involved with his organization and started to help with the communication and development of his programs in other markets and introducing them to other people. And so that love, L period, O period, V period, E period, it stands for, I'm going to read it so that I don't mess it up. The L is learn. Learn about your community and the people in it. And so we've been having conversations in our worship committee and everything about this community and who is in this community and what can we learn more about this community. And now I'm about to really mess up a name, so I'm not going to mess it up. What are the original native people that used to occupy this land, Pam? Ahashiman. Yeah. The Ahashiman, right? So not only is it who's in this community now, but where was this community before now? And we've had a great opportunity to have a visit with, oh my goodness, I can't remember her name. I'm doing a horrible job. I should have notes. What was the lady's name that came to us last year? Everybody gets an F. Everybody go home. Jackie Nunez. So we had Jackie come in and introduce us to the historical community that we're in. And so one of the things that I had in this idea is we're talking about who are we going to be and what are we going to do. We have this piece of land, and I'd love to reach out to Jackie in the very near future after talking with you guys and invite them to partner with us to do some sort of tribute to the Ahashiman that can be part of this piece of land that people can also come and learn about the Ahashiman when they're walking down Cypress and they encounter our institution. So that's just one of the ideas. And then so O, open your heart to the humanity that's within the community, right? Actually see and empathize and live with the people that are here. Not only the people that are in the house next door to you, but maybe the people that are in the alley behind you. They're in the community. So we have to open our hearts to the humanity in the community. And then we have to volunteer ourselves to be a part of the solution, which is kind of part of the discussion, is how can we be a part of solving issues for individuals in this community. What can we do? We have collective powers, time, talent, treasure, and how are we going to dispatch that in this community of Laguna Beach? And ironically, with all of the excess and wealth that exists here, there's still plenty of need right here locally within these blocks, and we got to figure out what that need is and how can we help, because there's people that need all kinds of things, and I think we might have some of those things sitting right here in this room somehow, some way. And then the last one, the E, is empower others to do the same. And literally, it's as a community and as a group, as a family and a fellowship, my presence here before you today, having this platform to say my cousin's name and to honor her as an empowerment, it's I don't know if I shared this with you, but since I was 6 years old, I've had two dreams. I wanted to be an attorney, and I wanted to be a minister. Why did I want to be a minister? Well, because my great-great-grandfather was a minister. Hello. There's a big church with a cornerstone that says 1927 that he built. I thought that was kind of cool. It was kind of like a role modeling thing, if you will. He was a great role model. Then if you go to Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, there's a street, and if you go down that street, there's a big tall building, and that big tall building bears his name. It's a senior assisted living center. I used to go visit his daughter when she was a resident there as a young man, my Aunt Jitty. And so, role modeling, he would stand up there in his big doctoral robe. I have a doctoral robe. I wanted to be like him. My father moved my family to Huntsville, Alabama to go to Oakwood College. That's how we became Alabamians. Oakwood College is a Seventh-day Adventist school. My father enrolled there to be a seminarian. I was a PK almost. He never finished the seminarian track, but he's one of the greatest pastors and role models I've ever met. And this morning he told me to make sure I stayed on my physical fitness so that I can continue to present properly. And I'm so blessed in that both of my parents are still alive. And so I was able to chat with them across the desert yesterday and speak with them this morning before I came to see you. And they're making sure that I have all my stuff together to go up to Philadelphia to see the rest of my family, to celebrate the life of Carrie Machette Connor. So it's about what you do. So I've been working with AJ's Love is the Answer movement and the things that they're doing not only around the country, but around the world to make an impact and improve relationships between communities and the police officers that help keep them safe, which is very, very important role, right? Because we live in a civilized society and it must have all types of levels of order, but we all have to be in it together. So, my dream of being a minister, my dream of being a sports businessman, a sports attorney, all those dreams are literally coming true as I stand before you. And I also recognize that I stand on the shoulders of giants, as we all do, and we're a link in the chain. So the eighth principle is about how are we going to make a difference in the world, really. It's a challenge. So I'm going to open up the floor to a little discussion if anyone has any ideas since the last time we talked about what it is that we as a fellowship, as a community, might be able to do, and spend a little bit of time on that. And then I'll announce that we're going to have a 2023 challenge starting on January 1st, which just happens to be a Sunday. And it's a Be the Change challenge. And we're going to start in January with the first principle. And so on January 1st, Our Be the Change Challenge is gonna kick off, and we're gonna do one principle a month for the next 7 months, and we're gonna challenge ourselves to be the change and live the principles starting on January 1st with the first principle, which is my favorite principle because when I followed Tom in here because he had coffee, I read that principle and it got me to come back over and over and over again. So here's the question. What do you guys think we can do to live the change, to be the change, to start to embrace the 8th principle? Anyone, any ideas, any thoughts, comments? Certainly. I will stay still. So Linda has something for us.
It's way too wordy.
So the suggestion was that we reduce the 8th principle down to whatever my last comments were. So we will check the record and we will pull that up
Perfect.
and make a suggestion.
I agree with Linda. We've got to reword that. And then Don, I really like that idea of putting up a plaque, and I'm sure Brian and I would put, the money for that, that acknowledges the land that we have and our gratitude, for those before us. I think that's important. Yeah, that's a really good suggestion. Yeah. The other part is, aside from 11th commandment would be really good. I think that's a great idea to deal with racial issues. But yeah.
Oh,
Was that a hand or were you just moving? No? So yeah, I think that if we partner with the local tribe here and have a conversation with them about how we create that presentation and what it should look like and all that, I think it could be really, really cool. And I think it would be, again, a way for us to live the principle and not just talk about it and debate it. And
oh, sorry. Honey.
Hi, I was just asking Don if he has already figured out a way to condense the proposed new 8th principle.
yeah, I think it's acknowledging inequities specifically rooted in white supremacy and doing everything we can to change it. Right? Because historically, before we get to Mike, historically, if you go all the way through history, race wasn't an issue on the earth until the colonial system historically began to take effect. And if you understand the colonial empires and put the map up, they conquered the entire world. So we're actually living in a post-colonial world. And one of the issues of control, one of the mechanisms of control within that colonial world became race. And so you have to actually understand the entire picture of it to really start to dismantle it. So an example of that would be that the Greeks get lots of credit for lots of things that they learned from someone else as if they originated it, when in fact they just transcribed it to Greek. So Pythagoras, we'll get to you, Ross. So Pythagoras, he gives us the Pythagorean theorem, and there's pyramids in Egypt that were built before he ever wrote his Pythagorean theorem down that use the Pythagorean theorem, is my point. Like you have a question, I'll go to Ross on.
Yes. it seems to me that this proposed eighth is really a rehashing, a lot of it is a rehashing of the first seven. There's a lot of repeats in there that we could maybe move around and streamline it a little bit.
I agree with that. And if I can opine and comment, my observation, even when we had, the last time I was up here, we had Reverend Nancy McDonald Ladd as our speaker, and I was really nervous because she's kind of a big time person in Unitarian Universalism. And in her book, one of the things that I think she was saying was that we've been too academic in the pursuit of the first seven principles, i.e. we've thought about them too much and talked about them too much. And what I see in the eighth principle, at least in the intention, Mike, is a challenge to put action behind it, to actually do something within ourselves and the institutions that we touch, which is no longer just a conversation and a thought. Because I think lots of people have had the right thoughts, but when you say what has happened actionably, empirically in the world that we can say these are the analytics of the change, there's not a lot of analytics that come from all of these great thoughts that have been associated with those seven principles. And I think that's the goal of the eighth principle. Let's go to Zoom. What do you got for us, Ross?
There you go. Part of the problem here, Annie and I went to the General Assembly, and the problem of language, of course, is with the eighth principle is a difficult one. I propose that we get some of our UU poets and convoke a group of poets to go over it and to make the language better. The problem is that the proposal has been proposed in this particular form and has been read once and has gone for extensive discussion, and will come before the next General Assembly in Pittsburgh this coming summer for a final vote. It cannot be modified at this point because it's like a law. It's already been read and proposed in its current form. It can be modified later, but unfortunately, procedurally, it's not possible at this point to modify the words as they have come to us for the proposed eighth principle. It's just a procedural problem at this point. Like I say, it can be modified later, but the text that we have now is the text that we have, and it cannot be modified because for it to be adopted by the general UUA, it has to be approved at General Assembly, and it has to go through a bunch of churches and read once and read twice and adopted at the third reading, which is coming up this summer. So we'll have to bear with it and modify it as seems to be appropriate, should it be approved. Just procedural stuff. That's all I have at this point.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so my comment is I see it as, I think it's a call to action, and I think that is the main point of it, in that it's like perhaps in history it was more of an intellectualized idea versus actual action. And I think in light of so much of what's happened in the last few years, we perhaps have this renewed energy, and perhaps younger generations coming up as well, who perhaps want to see more action and not just discussion or idealization of something. And I think in an interesting way, we can reference back to Deuteronomy and what Don is saying today, in that picking life over death, it's like these old ideas that we've intellectualized and idealized versus what is the life of those words? What are the actions of those words? And myself being of Asian descent, and I'm Californian all the way, born and raised, 4 generations, but I'm unique in that I'm part Japanese, part Chinese. And if we look at the history of just And actually I found out my DNA is related to the native indigenous people here. My mother's DNA is actually related to the indigenous DNA here on this continent. And what I find interesting, if we really look at the history of this country, there has been an alienization of people of Asian descent or Asian features. So we start with indigenous, and we can look at the Chinese Exclusion Act. And we can even look at local history. I mean, I don't know if y'all are familiar with it, but between the north part of Laguna Beach and say Newport Coast, prior to Pearl Harbor, there was a huge, very successful Japanese American run family farming, huge farm there. And I don't know if people are familiar with that. I mean, all people of Japanese descent were removed from this state. And that was, again, it calls back to that, but, and people didn't come back, you know, and it's really interesting delving up all of this history of where we live and what it really means. And if we can really be aware of that, so much of it has been erased, actually. So I just need to bring that up because we just had the anniversary of the Pearl Harbor attack and what that meant to everyone of Japanese American descent is so huge, and it's so silent. It's not spoken of. And it's really a big thing here in this place that we live in. I just wanted to bring that up. So.
It's true that the eighth principle incorporates some of the thoughts from the other 7 principles, but it's much more specific. It's the only principle I'm aware of that points out a flaw in our society and asks us to do something about that societal flaw. So in that sense, it's got more agency, I think, than the other 7 principles. The others say good things. Oh, that's where the camera is. Okay, I just finally figured it out. The other 7 principles are fairly positive principles about to do good, interdependent web of life, the inherent worth and dignity of everybody. But they don't talk about the people who have traditionally and historically had less dignity and what we can do to give them more dignity. It's kind of like when they did Black Lives Matter. Well, yes, they do matter. The point of that statement, I think, was to point out that they haven't always mattered, and that therefore in our society now, they should matter. And I think the 8th principle is similar in that sense, where we want to say, yes, there's the other 7 principles, but we also have to address the systemic issues that we as a culture have, and other cultures across the planet. But here in America, we definitely have issues.
Oakley has something for you.
There you go.
Yeah, the principles are designed to be principles, not a manual as to how you accomplish the ends of those principles. To me, I don't know that adopting an 8th principle would really be helpful or productive, might even be counterproductive. To me, the first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, includes the ultimate goal of the proposed 8th principle. If you're going to have an 8th principle specifically addressed to problems of race, then maybe we need a 9th principle talking about problems with women, or gender issues, or gay issues. Maybe we need a 10th issue dealing with the disabled or the economically disadvantaged. And I think rather, I wonder if you woke up tomorrow and the eighth principle was adopted, how would that benefit us? What would we be able to do with the eighth principle in place that we weren't able to do when we woke up this morning? So rather than devoting too much energy toward a proposed wording of a new principle, I would rather see us working toward implementing the goal that those people who are really concerned with the very, very real issue of racism and see how we can address those.
I want to add that I think that probably it's a lot like the sorry, I'm gonna sit down. I think probably this eighth principle, the principles are a lot like the commandments. I think that was a good analogy. But if we added the eighth principle, we would be adding kind of like a footnote to the fact that we embody this want to change when some people don't see that when they look at those 7 principles.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Dara. So what Rachel is suggesting, someone's going to have homework out of that suggestion, is she's suggesting that we take the call to action and incorporate it into the actual fellowship's mission statement and to consider a revision of our mission statement. So many different things were shared. I can't come back to all of them, but I see where Oakley is going. I think Oakley is raising what they call the old slippery slope of new principles, because there's lots of different things that could be identified and pointed out. I want to thank Carole for giving me a piece of history that I had absolutely no former knowledge of before today about the history of the land here as it relates to World War II and the Japanese Americans that were here at that time. I didn't know anything about the family that lived in North Laguna, so that's very interesting. This is a conversation that we're going to continue to have, but I think what the real challenge is, what Oakley said, is how do we just actually live the 7 principles and even the proposed 8th principle here as a fellowship. And bringing us in for a landing, I think about my cousin Carrie, and I'm going to use her as an example. When she was diagnosed with breast cancer, she started doing things to help other people. She called me up and she said she wanted to write a children's book because she needed a way to communicate to her daughter Maddie what was going on with mommy. So she wrote a children's book called My Mommy Has Breast Cancer, But She Is Okay. And we did that in 2010. Thousands and thousands and thousands of copies of that book have been sold so that people can talk to their child about what's going on with mommy. So she didn't just sit around and wallow in that she had this thing going on. She got to work. And they started a foundation called Praise is the Cure. So I encourage you to find out what they're doing and maybe give some support in memory of Carrie. And Praise is the Cure has helped breast cancer screening happen for thousands of women in the northeastern United States, mostly from underprivileged communities that weren't typically availed to that kind of access. So when someone says, what did Carrie do? There's hard answers, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I anticipate a great celebration from the people that she touched. And I just have to tell you, she was an amazing person, not like just because she was my cousin and everything. She was the homecoming queen of the high school there where we grew up, right? Just as a side note, my mother was the first Black homecoming queen of that high school. And my mother's first cousin, Anita, Carrie's mother, was the homecoming queen of that high school. My cousin Carrie was the homecoming queen of that high school. Kings and queens, that's where I come from. And so, you know, she was a cheerleader at the high school. She was kind of a big deal. She was a Delta.
I stayed in Florida.
Sorority. I can't show you guys, but the Delta sorority, their color was red. So in her honor, I have on some red under my clothes, but I can't show you. So the point is that she became very actionable. It became a motivation, not just to me and not just to our family, but to lots of others. And so literally all the time when I was having a bad day and all the time going forward, when I'm struggling with mustering the energy to do what is ever on my plate, I say to myself, Carrie's doing it today. And she did it in a way that I don't know if I could ever have so much grace and poise with the challenges that she had. So I hope that we all can have a report card given at the end of our journey that said they did something really special that changed the world, like my cousin Carrie did. So now I'm going to ask our marvelous musician to return to her throne, also known as the piano, and to play a closing hymn for us. And she's going to play it in 2 languages, something that I thought was very cool that Reverend Lee Marie started to do here. And I'm embracing it. And we're going to play hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. And I'm going to dedicate it to my cousin Carrie. Thank you, Carole.
Please stand.
Spirit
of
of
life,
life,
come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí. Il corazón contiene tu compasión. Sopla sube la mar hasta mañana. La justicia de la vida. Arrógame, líbrame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí.
I know, I butchered it.
No, you had a bucket some of the times. It was very nice.
I'm going to try to hold it together for like 90 more seconds, y'all. My baby cousin, Carrie's daughter, Maddie, is an entrepreneur and a creator, and she has this thing, and one of the products she sells has the acronym MAD on it, M-A-D. I'm mad because my cousin's gone, but MAD is motivated, ambitious, and driven. And she has shirts and things that say Mad Purpose. If you check my Facebook page, there's a picture of me with crazy hair wearing a Mad Purpose shirt. So with Mad Purpose, I'm gonna extinguish this flame. And the light goes on like my cousin Carrie's light lives within me. And I will carry it with you every time I'm with you going forward. So thank you for embracing me and allowing me the space today to honor her. I invite you to bow your head and close your eyes if you so choose. Oh, great creator of the universe, thank you for this gathering. Thank you for the opportunity to say my cousin's name in a fellowship of love and support. Please be with us as we go out into the world again this week, to be the change we want to see in the world, to live the change that my cousin Carrie exampled for all of us to see. Thank you. Namaste and amen. Carole, let's do the thing that we do so well around here. Let there be peace on earth. Let's make a circle and sing together our closing song, Let There Be Peace on Earth.
Here we are. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With earth as our mother, we are family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solid vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bell, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells, everybody now. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! Happy holiday.